Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Biohacking Beauty podcast. This is a release of an episode that was recorded at the very launch of the Biohacking Beauty podcast. We want to republish it, as many of you have probably not listened, and it's extremely timely for the fall/winter season that's either here or approaching, depending on where you live. In this episode, you'll hear Dr. Jen Haley talk a lot about strengthening the skin barrier. At the time of this episode, time we recorded it, we did not yet have launched our BioBarrier serum that works to protect and rebuild your skin barrier. If you want to learn more about skin barrier and how BioBarrier works, be sure to tune into episode 57, What is Leaky Skin and How to Avoid It. You will also hear me chat about an R&D product we have that down-regulates mTOR. This product is now our ProCare Senolytic Anti-Aging Serum. If you want to learn more about this product, you can tune into episode 36, Skin Aging, Senescent Cells, and Using Senolytics. We will link both of these episodes in the show notes for you to easily go and listen to them next. Plus, if you want to check out both of these products or learn more about them on our website, we'll include links to both in our show notes. But again, that's our ProCare Senolytic Anti-Aging Serum and our BioBarrier Serum. And now, without further ado, let's listen to the episode. Welcome to the Biohacking Beauty podcast. My guest today returns to us since she is our most beloved dermatologist. Her name is Jen Haley. And Jen, please, for the listeners who didn't hear you before and fell in love with you immediately, tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll go from there.
Sure. If you didn't hear before, listen to all of Amitay's podcasts and Biohacking Beauty. I highly recommend it. And you can also hear him on my podcast, Radiance Revealed, with Dr. Jen Haley. That's on all platforms. So my background is I've been a board certified dermatologist since 2004. I've lived all over the US and overseas and have seen all different types of skin and all different types of climates. And I just really love sharing good information at this point in my life with other people. So that's what I'm here to do.
Amazing. That's that's the best introduction. You have seen it all, and the information you share in your podcast, in your social media presence, and on my podcast, it was just top of the line, and that's kind of why I called you back in order to discuss the seasons changing. So we're in the midst of fall. We wouldn't be able to tell it by the outside here in South Florida, but I heard it's fall is upon us in other parts of the land, and right. Winter comes directly after. To those who didn't know, so I felt it's an amazing opportunity to kind of talk about skin regimen. And the under the framework of fall and winter, because as biohackers or as wellness-seeking individuals, one of the things that should be on our mind is seasonality in food, obviously in clothing, that's kind of self-explanatory, but also in our skin regimen. So, Jen, why don't we talk a little bit about the characteristics of fall and winter, and what can we do as far as adjust our skin regimen, our skincare regimen, the procedures we do to those seasons.
Right. Yeah, it's such a great topic because I think we kind of get stuck in a routine, and we think that if we change our routine, then we're going to change our results. But we actually have to change our routine when the world around us changes. And the more I'm alive and the more I do this kind of work and just make observations from the outside in, outside of just the dermatology world, but more in the holistic world and in the biohacking world, cycles are really good. Rhythm and cycle is very, very good for pretty much everything. Obviously we expect the moon to cycle and women's cycle and, hormones cycle and all of those things, but also our food should cycle, our dietary needs and our skincare should cycle. And the way I look at the skin is we want to nourish it from the inside out and we want to nourish it from the outside in. So in the fall, in most places, I bounce back between Scottsdale, Arizona, which is always dry and very hot and sunny. I'm wearing a tank top pretty much every time we've ever talked. Yeah. And Park City, Utah, where it's getting really crisp outside and cold, and it's even drier than Arizona. So I've seen a lot of dryness in the environments where I've been. Obviously, in Florida, it's not quite as dry. I've lived in Hawaii and California, which are not quite as dry. So you have to take your own personal environment into play. But as a general rule, when the weather starts getting colder, the humidity in the air goes down, especially when heat is on in the home. So what we have to do is really work on protecting our skin barrier. So our skin, the reason I find skin so fascinating is it's what separates us from the outside world. So when people get burned and have large amounts of their area of their body burned, they don't die from the burn, they die from loss of fluid, they die from infection, because our skin protects us from all the environmental toxins, all of the germs, everything out there. So when we develop cracks in our skin or compromised skin barrier, we're more prone to get a dermatitis, an allergy, an infection, all these other things. So that's why it's so important to protect the skin barrier. So externally, you need to boost up moisture, even if you're acne prone. So what I have people do often is whatever their normal skincare routine is, they can even boost it with adding a little bit of hyaluronic acid to their normal skincare routine. And the key is most moisturizers and hyaluronic acid work by holding in moisture more than adding moisture to the skin, especially if it's for acne prone skin and doesn't have an oil base to it, which many people don't want an oil base and get acne prone. So, like your products, they're non-comedogenic and they're not going to add a ton of, oil to the skin. So you want to get out of the shower, maybe, wash your face while it's still damp, and then use all of the highly active ingredients to seal in the moisture while also being able to infuse the ingredients, the active ingredients into the skin. So it's about increasing hydration from the outside in, whether you use a mister and then your products or just a little bit of water on your face or get out of the shower when it's steamy and then add the products to your face. Don't let your skin dry completely when you put your products on, whether it's your face or your body. And you're going to want to hydrate your body as soon as you get out of the shower too with, I like ceramide rich products for the body. Now, inside out, I'm a big fan of fish oil. I think fish oil and vitamin D are necessary for everyone. Magnesium as well, but that's not going to help with skin barrier so much. But vitamin D and fish oil, I recommend it 5,000 IUs a day of vitamin D and 2,000 for fish oil.
2,000 milligrams?
Yes, exactly. 2,000 milligrams of fish oil. Some people can do more. I know when I did the neurofeedback with 40 Years of Zen, you want to boost it because it helps with neuroplasticity and things like that. But the thing about fish oil is I do a fair amount of procedures in my office and it predisposes you to bleeding. So there's a fine line, between too much and just enough. But fish oil really does make your skin look plump and juicy.
Let me ask you a kind of a question about fish oil. We hear a lot about DHA and EPA as far as fish oil. Mm-hmm. So the question is should one be higher than another when you're taking your supplement? Should you be aiming for one and not the other?
I like both. I definitely like both. I know I've seen some studies where I think, don't quote me, I may be wrong, but higher EPA is better for ADD. And, there are certain neurological conditions, but for your skin, just a good multi. I like pure encapsulations. I think they have high quality. And if someone's predisposed to get the fish oil burps, I have them put it in the freezer and store it in the freezer and then just take their pills with a fatty meal. And enzymes if possible, if you have access to some enzymes as well. I like Biooptimizer's Mastzymes. I like those. I find that I could digest anything, even, a birthday meal or something like that. So that's a little indulgent. They help me metabolize things a little bit quicker. And then krill oil is sort of the best. It's more expensive and more pricey. And pure encapsulations in some companies out there, they have, I think Douglas Laboratories, they have krill oil with astaxanthin. Now that's our home run, because astaxanthin is what's going to give your skin a nice rosy glow. And it's basically what turns salmon and shrimp pink. So that imparts color in your own skin, which protects you from daily toxins and UV radiation and all sorts of other things, in addition to adding that hydration to your skin. Because the way that the skin is made is we have these little phospholipids on each side to help protect the skin on the inside. So we need fat. Otherwise, we're going to look dehydrated and sunken in and kind of saggy. Healthy fat. Understood.
And you reminded me, because I have I have so little regard for my own birthday. Completely ignore other people's birthdays. And that's one of my biggest sins. So first of all, let me tell you, Jen, that today's your birthday. So first of all, I'm like super appreciative that you're doing this on your birthday. I'll take it as a compliment.
Well, you're a gift. I mean, knowing you is a gift for me. So I really don't see myself in any better place right now. I'm grateful for knowing
what we're going to send you for your birthday is a product that we've been developing since 2018. It's not on the market yet, and it downregulates mTOR in the skin.
Oh, so let me ask you a question. Okay, so how do you feel about protein cycling if you want to downregulate mTOR? Because your audience probably knows, high protein increases mTOR. And as we get older, I always am concerned about sarcopenia. So I purposely try to have a higher protein diet. It works well for my body, and everyone's different depending on their genetics. But I know there's some controversy or some thoughts out there, and definitely some research on cycling protein and having a protein poor day, I guess is what you call it. Yeah. So what do you think about that internally as well as for the skin with this new product? This sounds amazing.
I'm going to tell you the meta and the macro and the micro, and that is by now, especially that I'm not a scientist per se, I think I think you're only giving hypotheses and predictions in this point.
Right.
But I'm going to tell you my hypothesis and my predictions. So firstly, mTOR is a pathway that we're going to make it super basic. The amount of amino acids we're consuming, the proteins that we're consuming, mainly the ones from red meat, are going to make that pathway more active. And this pathway is pro-aging pathway. It doesn't mean you're going to age like a pro. It means it basically makes you age faster. And in the skin specifically, and what we kind of track down how it affects skin aging specifically is through an expression of a protein called progerin. And the interaction or the measurement of progerin in the skin can kind of point us to the way that mTOR affects our skin aging. But get back to your question. Have you heard about Mark Sisson? You've had,
yes, of course.
Heard about this company. Everyone has Primal Kitchen or Primal Nutrition. But he has a new book about metabolic flexibility, and I'm obsessed with this book. I think, to me, as a person that in his head is preparing for competition every day, this is the book that hits a home run as far as describing my experience with food and what has helped me in the past. And every time you're asking me, should we practice flexibility in our diet? The answer is yes. Immediately yes, as the meme says. Immediately yes.
But for the listeners, what do you mean by flexibility? I mean, I think I know what you mean by flexibility.
What I mean is that when you're asking me, should I make my body, should I train my body to have a metabolism that reacts quickly to challenges or to changes in our diet? And should I be training my body to do that? The answer is immediately yes. Okay. And what I mean by that is, if you have a way to expand your body's abilities to extract energy from food, you should be doing that. If we think about the biggest epidemic in the world right now, which is the epidemic of excess, which basically means we are consuming way too much food, calories, whatever that may be, unhealthy fats, unhealthy carbohydrates than we've were ever designed for. Then this epidemic is because when we are presented as human beings with the choice of, not even us as human beings, our subconscious, our primal brain is facing the choice to consume fast calories that normally are existing in nature in very low quantity, but also degrade in nature very fast, such as, imagine how, apples or, fruits, how long they would last in nature. Our body is designed to consume it very fast before it's gone. And our checks and balances, which exist, which exist in our body, that have adapted to a more abundant food, such as meat for that matter, or fats, do not really exist for carbohydrates, and we can overeat them much more readily. So we want to practice our body's ability to go from one main source of calories to another with great ease and flexibility. And when we talk about a protein poor day, yeah, it's like fasting. We should adjust our energy expenditure, the demand we put on our body when we challenge our body that way. You shouldn't be, probably, again, this is speculation and theories, but we probably shouldn't be taxing our central nervous system with a lot of stress that day. Talking about lifting heavy weights or pushing yourself to the max, because the body has less building blocks to recover. Or definitely, if you have done that, the following day should be a more restful day. But to answer your question, you should be striving for challenges in different sources of calories in order to expand your metabolic flexibility.
Yeah, so that you could use, go ahead.
Yeah, and through that also downregulate mTOR, because mTOR is a pathway that is a major culprit in aging and in
cancer.
And in cancer, by the way, and in unrepaired damage or proliferating damage, if you would. So.
But my understanding is that sometimes it's good because we want to become anabolic at times, but we don't want to be anabolic all the time, is what you're saying. So
yes,
that's why rotating. Okay.
Yeah, that, and also that is the end result. Are we anabolic or are we catabolic? Are we in a breakdown mode, or are we in a kind of building and accumulation mode? And we can talk about the expression of IGF-1 in that aspect. But basically, bottom line, a little bit climbing up the ladder of cascade of metabolic events. We want to. Okay, that's a theory I've had for a long time. You're trading ultimate or optimal performance now to longevity, and that's almost unanimous. If you want longevity, you're going to be paying for it with optimal performance right now. You can't redline your body every day, and expect your joints, your heart, your lungs, your liver, whatever that may be, to last you in an infinite amount of time in that amount of output, and vice versa. You can't expect to intermittent fast every day and eat one meal and, restrict your calories, etc., every day and expect to have ultimate performance. Your thought on that? What do you think of what I just said?
Yeah, I think that's great. And it's kind of neat. I think there's a little bit of a relief of pressure by saying, hey, give up on the optimal performance and choose what's fun. So one day for me, mountain biking 20 miles might be fun. And then the next day going for a stroll with a friend and socializing might be fun. Then the next day it's lifting something heavy might be fun. And for women, it varies depending on what your hormones are. If you're a cycling woman, what time of the month it is, whether you should be lifting heavy or doing more high intensity interval training. But I like what you're saying, where you're saying, sometimes we want to be anabolic, and then other times we want to be catabolic, but we don't really want to be one all the time. We live in this dogmatic society where everybody's like, okay, what's the good answer? Let's do keto, or this is better, or, fasting this many days is better. But it's really about cycling. Like, it comes back to what we were talking about with cycling, and then choosing real food, basically. So you mentioned processed fats. So I talked about how fats are good for the skin. If you have fish oil, avocado oil, a moderate amount of nuts may be healthy as well. Olive oil is wonderful. So there's certain types of oils that are really, really good for the skin. But then nut seed oils, soybean, canola, all of those kind of oils, they're highly inflammatory to the skin. So they make people more prone to dermatitis, to acne, to clogging of their pores, because they just cause inflammation and kind of just congestion of the face, where people become real red and scaly and plugged up. So a lot of that has to go back to diet. Yeah,
and if you really, again, everything that we're talking about we should be able to follow it back to our evolutionary framework and make sense of it. And really, when we're talking about those plant oils and kind of unhealthy seed oils, what we're really seeing is the sources of those oils are things that we haven't evolved to consume large quantities of, and it should be making sense. Good luck eating the amount of sunflower that would yield the a tablespoon of sunflower oil, for that matter, or fill in the blank, whichever other oil we're talking about, and these oils eventually, they're stored as energy, and they affect our fat storages, but they also are the building blocks for so many cellular barriers and cells themselves in our body. So we're literally feeding our body incorrect, suboptimal building blocks.
Yeah, I agree. And it's really challenging because the food guy, I wanted to say big pharma, but it's the food companies, although many are the same, right? Yeah. They have these things priced so well. So you go to buy a dressing at the store, and the canola oil or the soybean oil dressing is $2.99. Meanwhile, the avocado oil dressing is $7.99. And even me, knowing all the things I know, and I'm financially stable, I still had a hard time, because it's this, let's get the best price thing. But when you start thinking about your body as really your most precious resource, and everything else around you is insignificant compared to your health, you have to start prioritizing that by choosing the right things for you and your family, because the cost may seem higher initially, but in the long run, it's so much less when you're not dealing with sickness. And going back to your point about gluttony, it's so easy nowadays, and we're all home and we're on the computers, and I get bored and I get hungry, and instead of cooking food, I just want to grab chips or something that's quick and easy. And We can talk about chips and AGEs as well, right? Like processed foods and high glycemic foods and foods that are cooked high and hot, like charred on the grill. They form something called advanced glycation end products, and they circulate through your blood and bind to proteins everywhere in all of your vessels, but also your skin. And that's what makes skin, instead of being supple and bouncing back, it makes skin very stiff. And you can often see patch marks, like I call them patch marks of wrinkles on the cheeks and on the skin from that collagen damage from the AGEs. So that's just another take on what food can do. But we have the ability to live. I think I'm reading CEO of Young's book right now. Have you heard of it? I think it's called The Science of Growing Young. The art and science of growing young.
I need to look at
it. Just came out. He's an investor in the longevity industry, so he's talking about like all the trends that are out there now, and it's pretty interesting because we do have the capability to live a long time if we don't allow these what we call standards in society. You go to the grocery store, you can't trust that is food. It's on the shelf and it's packaged as food, but it's not really food. Our body doesn't recognize it as food. So what happens is when we eat things that are nutritionally poor, calorically dense, high calories, no nutrients. So we're still hungry because our body's like, give me nutrients, please. But meanwhile, we're getting calories. And in the meantime, our gut is like, invader. And we get leaky gut. We develop allergies. We have bloating. We feel sick after we eat. We're still hungry, even though we're bloated. All of these things are a result of our diets, and the processed chemicals that we're coming into contact with. And trust me, I'm not perfect. I eat plenty of these, but at least I know when I have a reaction what's going on, and it puts me in check for the next decision-making opportunity.
Yeah, 100%. And we're all imperfect. I think that we wouldn't be able to relate to people who are maybe a little bit less advanced in their journey as far as skin health and well-being and health in general, only because our challenges in making decisions are similar to theirs. We just have more of that habit of making right decisions than maybe someone else. And that's all there is to it. That's why someone is looking like a Greek god or goddess and the other person is somewhere else on their journey. The difference is the accumulation of good decisions. That's the entire difference.
Right. Compound effect.
And all we're here to do is to feed someone's ear and eyes, in that matter, good nutrition to their conscious and subconscious as far as which decisions they should be making and what framework they should be living their life, and they should be making their decisions within. Mm-hmm. And kind of jumping into our main subject of this conversation, which I want to kind of touch a little bit on. So we said that winter is a season, or fall and winter really are seasons where our skin barrier is being compromised because of harsher conditions for it, and that it's made out of lipids, out of fats, and that our body needs to replenish it from good sources. What other characteristics would you say the colder seasons have? And how does it reflect in our decisions in skin health?
I wanted to bring up one more thing that people often think that their skin is dry. Mm-hmm. And what happens when we're young, when you're 25, 29, 35, it takes about 28 days to 40 days for your skin to go from the bottom layer to the top layer and turn over, right? Your stem cells are producing fresh skin every day. They're exfoliating properly. So a lot of times when people are in their 40s, 50s, and beyond, they notice that their skin is dry. And what's happening is adding hydration isn't going to do the trick just by adding hydration, because the skin layer on top is adhering a little bit more, and the stem cells are a little bit slower and lazier. So you want to enhance exfoliation, not to the point of irritation, but use a product or a mechanical exfoliation, either chemical or mechanical exfoliation, to remove the dead skin cells so then the products can hydrate properly. Because those dead skin cells will often insulate the healthy, alive skin cells below, and they won't be able to receive the product properly. So often, fall is a great time to do those exfoliation procedures and remove some of the brown spots in the summer. And then you want to hit it hard in the winter with hydration and always protect your skin from the sun, in the high real estate areas of the face, the neck, the chest, the back of the hands that are exposed every day. Because if you don't need a flashlight outside, what is brightening the sky? It's UV radiation, right? And I'm not really that afraid of those. I mean, some people will say, oh, don't do it in the summer. But you see, when you live in Florida, and I've lived in Hawaii and California and Arizona, places that are always sunny, you can still do, those procedures and do some exfoliation and get results as long as you're wearing a hat and proper sunscreen and supporting your skin with the right skincare.
Okay, so I want to ask you, as far as obviously we're getting into into nuances here, and as I preach a lot in the podcast, we really should attach ourselves to professionals, which we hire their services, someone who would walk us through a journey and would be able to give us pointers who are correct for us specifically. But maybe as an overview, what I know you said you're not in favor of more aggressive things, but what are some of the avenues someone can take as far as renewing their skin and helping it shed that extra layer of, when you say exfoliation, when you say, mechanical or chemical, can you go over a few things that you like, maybe even things that you like more and less?
Sure. I am in favor of more aggressive things in the right hands. I have seen scarring. If you can't just go anywhere. The problem with some of the devices out there, the laser devices, is that regulations vary so much from state to state. And I have seen some really serious scarring when it was done in the wrong hands. And unfortunately, the consumer often believes that if someone can do the procedure, they should do the procedure. So obviously I'm biased to go to a board certified dermatologist, because we know the skin, if I'm doing a laser procedure and I could see a reaction that the skin's having, I understand the physiology of the skin, and I know to stop and adjust the parameters of the laser. So simplest to most complicated. So simplest is if you're acne prone or more oily or have more sensitive skin, I like products, a chemical exfoliator, and I don't like to use the word chemical, but it is a chemical exfoliator, like salicylic acid. Comes from the willow bark tree, same as aspirin. It's anti-inflammatory, but it's also keratolytic, which basically is a big word that means like it exfoliates dead skin cells that don't belong there, okay, which is the top layer of the skin. And most of the products over the counter are 2%, very, very mild. They can be used daily for a week or two. There are also enzyme exfoliation products out there with like papaya and some other kind of natural enzyme exfoliators that can be used. If you have more aged skin that's not sensitive, not rosacea prone, and have brown spots, then you can look for products with glycolic acid. I tend to be red and rosacea prone, so I don't tolerate glycolic acid. It starts burning right away. But if you don't have any problems with sensitivity, glycolic acid can work well for you. There's also lactic acid, which tends to be better for dehydrated skin. And a lot of the products have combination, like lactic glycolic acid kind of things. And then mechanical exfoliation is basically like beads. I don't recommend using seeds or nuts because they have angulated particles that can cause mechanical shearing and tears in the skin. So I don't recommend a harsh, if your face is bright red after you scrub your face, it's the wrong product for you. So choosing an elegant exfoliation, there's brushes and things like that you can use just to kind of mechanically, or just grab a fresh washcloth every day and use the product with that if you don't have the money for a brush. I really can work with any budget. And then I'd say the second line is to go into an office and have them do a light chemical peel, like a lunchtime peel. And most medical estheticians and offices can do that with any of the chemicals. And then more aggressive, if you have a lot of sun damage or if you have some of the hatch marks wrinkles that we talked about. So there, most people have wrinkles that move with their face. Like when they smile, they get a little wrinkle. But when you look at the cheek, especially in people who live in high elevation, I see this a lot in Colorado and Utah, where the radiation is super high. I think we increase about 3% for every 1,000 feet over sea level of the amount of UV radiation you're getting. So the collagen really breaks down. And when you're having wrinkles that don't stretch out, they kind of stay there if you stretch the skin, whether it's around the mouth or the cheeks, then you need a resurfacing laser, like a deeper laser, like a CO2 or one of the more ablative lasers where you kind of just stay inside for a week or two afterwards. So that's, and that you definitely want to do in the hands of someone and have the appropriate aftercare as well.
Definitely. And so a little bit of an angle, something I've been experimenting with recently and seems to be effective. We're not going to be doing with it anything as a company for a while, just because of patents involved and where it is in our pipeline. But people should be looking at if they did do something that's a little bit more aggressive and then they expect their body to create collagen well, people should be looking at the peptide BPC-157.
I was going to say GHKCU. That's another peptide I like.
That's you know what? Thank you for saying that, because that would have been a shameless plug if I just have said it myself. Because we're talking about glycation and its effect on the skin, how it does cause that rigidness, that thinning as well, but rigidness of the skin tissue. And when we designed our eye cream, the premise behind the eye cream was negating glycation. And GHKCU, which is the star ingredient in our eye cream, was definitely chosen aside, together with a few other peptides that we've developed in order to achieve that goal.
I love peptides. So are you talking with the BPC-157? Are you talking about topical cream or injectable?
So topical cream, there is a company, it's called Pure. They changed their name, but people can look at like liquid stable BPC-157 serum. I haven't seen any proof that it is transdermal or that it would penetrate the skin. So yeah. I'm just, until we have that information, I wouldn't be going for that. It's also expensive. But what I would, look at are products that are supplements that have BPC-157, or if people can get it. I know it's a little problematic right now, but if people want to get it prescribed by their doctor for them to inject it into their abdomen, into the fat in the abdomen, subcutaneous fat in the abdomen, with syringes, the same syringes you would be using for insulin, that can happen too. Just because of the ease of it and how we can talk about the pros and cons, but I think more people would prefer starting with a supplement, and that's available. I know a few companies that make supplements, of course. Tailor-Made Health.
Yeah, that's who I use.
Yeah, the big guru of peptide formulation.
I can't get injectables from them anymore, though. But I get they have they call it Infinity Health now. It's Infinity Health instead of Tailor-Made.
Really?
Yeah, not so the pills are Infinity INFINI Health. And I don't know if you need a prescription or not for them.
I don't think you do. I don't think.
Okay.
But
yeah, I think they have like a.
Just to give another option, I am going to look for this. It's called Pure.
But I like GHKCU also in an injectable form, and then the BPC-157 is great for. Well, orally, it's great if you have stomach issues like reflux and things like that. And then injectably, it works really well for like musculoskeletal issues and tendon healing and stuff.
100%. Yeah. So it's very interesting. This peptide was isolated. So a peptide, if I want to explain, give it an elevator pitch to why people should be looking at peptides. The peptides are really the body's kind of command
messengers.
Yes, the body's messenger, the ways that we can kind of biomodulate, and BPC 157 is actually isolated from gut bile. So when gut bile kind of damages gut lining, that is the peptide that is being expressed in order to repair that layer. So yeah, if we're going to ingest it, most of it is going to stay in the gut. But the benefits, like anti-inflammatory benefits, some of it is going to go systemically. So we can start with that. But injecting it into our subcutaneous fat, it is going systemically and kind of improving collagen deposition, among other things, among reducing inflammation. So if anyone's doing more ablative procedures, maybe they can look at that option as far as supporting that and healing faster, etc. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
I do have to tell you, like, be careful when you do procedures of just putting anything on your face, because I do all sorts of crazy things to myself. And I did a microneedling procedure to my face, and I had some GHKCU from TaylorMade. This was like 2 or 3 years ago. It wasn't your products. And I put it on my face immediately after, thinking it would help. And it formed little nodules all over my face for about 2 months.
Wow.
So sometimes the particles can get trapped into the little microchannels and cause some sort of an inflammation or an irritation or even a granuloma kind of response. So
100%. And keeping the product GHKCU stable within the liquid, making sure it gets to your skin in its right form, and making sure it gets absorbed well into the skin and gets dispersed well into the skin is an art in itself. And as manufacturers,
I think that's a good point. Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, as someone who creates these products, like, not all products are created equal. Just because it says it has some ingredient in it, you kind of get what you pay for. So, yeah. I mean, the formulation is everything. If it's not going to get to where it needs to be in the skin, then there's no point of even using it.
Couldn't agree more. Jen, what, you are you're a very busy person. You have also a birthday today, so we can't rob the world of your presence for much longer. Do me a favor, if you have any other tips that you feel are imperative to share, great. Do you have anything else that you feel is important?
Okay.
Yes.
I'm just going to summarize. So hydrate, make sure that there's water on your skin before you seal it in. Actives always go first, moisturizer second, in order to kind of trap and seal it in so the actives can get deeper in the skin. Look for healthy fats. Avoid processed food. Avoid nut seed oils that we mentioned. Limit sugar, because when you have high sugar going through your body, it's really going to just make your skin look bad. That's all I'm going to say about that. Mm-hmm. I'm not a huge fan of dairy. I feel like dairy is very inflammatory and it causes a lot of breakouts on people. Whey protein, I've seen hit or miss on people because it can raise insulin-like growth factor and cause some breakouts in people. I personally tolerate it fine. Some people don't. So if you're acne prone, avoid that. When you're showering in the winter, make sure you put a ceramide-rich moisturizing cream on your body. Lotions evaporate. They sometimes have alcohol and they dry you out. You always want a cream on the body. And I know there was something else I was going to say. Oh, and then the exfoliation. We talked about the exfoliation. And then I think exercise is essential for healthy skin. You have to have muscle mass and healthy bones for your skin to sit on. So if you're emaciated and you don't have good muscle mass and you don't have healthy bones, your skin is going to sag over time. So exercise, and then also exercise enhances blood flow, and blood delivers nutrients and oxygen and takes away the metabolic waste products that happen every day when our skin cycles. And then you mentioned, you didn't really mention intermittent fasting, but we kind of touched on it a little bit. Intermittent fasting gives your body a chance to clean out the garbage and look refreshed and renewed. So huge fan of that, whether you like to do 24 hours or brave enough to do 72 or autophagy peaks, or if you just want to do time restricted eating, For women, it's best done in the first couple weeks of their cycle, really weeks 2 and 3. Week 2 is a great time to lift heavy and do some time restricted eating of like 16-hour fast and 8-hour window. But 12 hours is easy to do most of the time without throwing off cortisol.
Wow, Jen, I think we can have an amazing podcast looking at the relationship between, in women, hormones, skin, and adjunct endeavors such as intermittent fasting, lifting, and kind of creating a circuits or whatever you want to call it, some kind
circadian,
of cycle.
like our own circadian rhythm.
Yeah, kind of interacting with our circadian and our lunar rhythm, whatever you want to call it.
Right. It's interesting because when women are in nature, they actually tend to cycle with either the full moon or the new moon, so it's really interesting to me.
It is. So Jen, thank you so much. You are this podcast's idol. We adore you. And I don't know, there are not enough superlatives to say how much we appreciate your time. We wish you a happy birthday. You are an amazing person. You are definitely embodying what this podcast is about, which is about health radiating from within and showing through our skin. Another favor I want to ask you: where can people feed their ears with your lovely information diet, and how can they follow you? And of course, everything is going to be in the description anyway, but if you could detail.
Oh, thank you. It's funny because I always get a little nervous talking to you because you're so smart. I almost feel like I'm getting tested. Whatever I know, on like 20 deeper levels. So it's always really fun talking to you. I have been very lazy. I have to tell everyone. I spent the summer in Park City just enjoying the mountains and taking some time to myself. So my podcast was on hold. It's starting up again. And we're going to do some really interesting topics on sex and brain health and kind of just all over the spectrum. And I definitely want to have you back on talking about this new product because that's exciting. And, just the physiology behind mTOR and bring that to light and people and why it's so important to know about it. But my podcast, it's on all the platforms. It's called Radiance Revealed. And I'm on Instagram, just at Dr. Jen Haley. And those are probably the 2 best places. I do telemedicine consultations in 22 states, including Florida, through a platform called Dermatologist on Call. And I try to incorporate a holistic approach along with, some medical approaches as well, some more traditional stuff until the lifestyle stuff kicks in. And then we let that take over.
Amen. Jen, again, happy birthday.
Thank you.
You are a gift to the world. We will send you a gift. And we love you. And go enjoy this day. I wish you many more years of looking as amazing as you look and affecting the world with your amazing knowledge.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Jen.
Thank you. I always love you. Thank you.